All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. So a little update to the story that I did last night. So last night I did a video where I said that Cain Velasquez had been shot. And it's a funny story how I got that wrong, because it turns out Cain Velasquez is the one who did the shooting. All appearances are that Cain Velasquez is the one who did the shooting. So that's crazy, right? That's pretty crazy. He's being held without bail. Like, he's in jail, arrested, being held without bail. So the guy that he shot is apparently not going to die. But like I said in the video last night, there's a big gap between not going to die and no big deal. As an example, if you shoot a person and the bullet gets lodged in their spine and you know they're not going to die, but they're going to be paralyzed for the legs down, or, for the waist down, when it comes time for someone to sentence you to a jail sentence or a prison sentence, I would say that's a little bit different than like, someone tried to carjack you and you shot him in the hand, And I can't help but default to, what does this mean for Cain? Because he's the only person that I actually kind of have some kind of connection to in terms of anything. The other person is a faceless gunshot victim or whatever. So I talked last night a lot about things that actually do potentially play into this story still. So I'll recap that. Okay. What I said in my video last night was that there is an incredibly large population of gang members up there. Okay. So apparently where it happened is in Morgan Hill, which is right next to Gilroy, Salinas, that kind of whole area. Like, Cain Velasquez, born in Salinas, one of the most heavily gang infested areas. There is a huge contingent of northern Mexican gang structure up there. There's a ton of them right there. Like, that's like home base of Norteño land. Norteños report to the Nuestra Familia, the northern structure in prison. If you're from Southern California, those are Serranos. They report to the Mexican mafia when they go to jail. And so I just assumed that this, if it's a shooting, it must have had to do with, like, there just aren't a lot of guns. The things that, like, you're not supposed to carry a gun around up there, like, at all, right? And I know this because I used to live up there. Okay, if you apply for a concealed carry permit, the likelihood that you're going to get it is incredibly small up there. Incredibly small. When I applied for mine, I obviously had, I don't know if it's obvious, but I had no felonies. I had nothing. And I applied for mine. They, in a county, they do it county by county, and it was a may issue, which means they might give it to you depending, right? There are some that they will, as long as you meet the criteria, and some that they won't, and some that they say they might do it. And they rejected mine. And I asked that, and I appealed it. They rejected it again. And I said, okay, so, because I had gone in and like done a face-to-face interview, and I was like, can you give me an example of when you did grant a firearms license, like a concealed carry license? And the guy, I swear to you, this is the answer. The guy goes, well, the last one that I did, the guy who was applying for it had been the victim of a gunshot attack, and the person who had shot him had done his time and was being released and was going to be in the same area. And I was like, what? I was like, so when you guys write may issue and you have people run around the application, go do the live scan fingerprint, all that stuff, the might issue you one is, hey, by the way, if you've been shot and you survived and the person who shot you is going to move next door, then we might give you a gun license. I'm like, are you serious? You know how insane that sounds? He's like, I didn't say that's the only time, but that's the most recent one. And, it's like, bottom line is, it's very unlikely that someone has a licensed firearm that they're carrying around. So it must have been connected to gang stuff, right? I literally didn't even entertain that it would have been Cain that did the shooting. So again, let me rewind. So the way I got this wrong was I got sent this before it was even in the media by a law enforcement officer up there. I didn't realize he was a law enforcement officer until afterwards, but I read this. So I waited until an article came out, but I was looking for it because I had been alerted to it. And when the article came out, it said one man shot, non-life threatening injuries. The other man, the suspect, arrested. And it's Cain Velasquez, or, it was like Cain Velasquez involved. One man was shot. The other one's been arrested. And my brain literally read that as Cain Velasquez has been shot. Like, as I went back and read it this morning, and I was like, oh, it actually didn't say Cain got shot. I literally interpreted it as Cain got shot because it was unfathomable to me that Cain would shoot someone else. I mean, it's not like I know him it's not like I know him, you know. But for whatever reason, I just defaulted to, oh, he must have gotten shot and he's okay. And then the other guy got arrested. And then this morning it was like, no. He's arrested. He shot somebody. It's like, what? Now, I will say this. They're not directly saying that he shot. They're saying that there was a shooting. One guy's in the hospital. One guy's arrested. Oh, and by the way, Cain Velasquez was involved in the shooting, and Cain Velasquez is being held on no bail at jail. So do the math, right? Do the math. And so this brings us to a whole other area to talk, which is fighters after their careers. Okay? It is, I mean, this is why, like, I make a joke of it, you know, like I make a joke of like the Fabia stuff and all that. Like when I found out that he cracked Diego for $100K, and I said, and I made a jokey video about it. But why I wasn't really, you know, like I was also being like, I'm also really not joking here. Like you need to get that money back. Like it's like taking money like that from a fighter who's at the very end of their career is evil, dude. If you really understand the life, like if you understand the life, you understand a guy's career like Diego's, because you know, like he had success, but he never got all the way there. You know, like he never got all the way there. Bottom line, you know, he can't afford to give some crackpot scam artist $100,000 when he's got maybe a fight or two left. Like that represents a very large amount of his saved money, I would imagine. You can't just steal that from a guy like that, because here's the thing. I mean, it's wrong no matter what, obviously, but for a fighter, like they are, a lot of them, the majority of them, when their careers end, they're facing like oblivion. And I don't mean like oblivion like they have no hope or anything, but in terms of like their, like, what are they going to do? Like, what are they going to do with the rest of their life? You know? Because to be a professional fighter, in most cases, you have to have set aside all of the things that you would have done to set yourself up for a successful life afterwards, right? Like you don't go and get your master's, you don't go get a law degree and simultaneously challenge for the UFC championship. That's not a thing, okay? Like I know Kenny Florian, he got a law degree and then he came in and he fought. That's a different era, man. That is a different era. The guys are too good now, my opinion. Unless all you do is school and fight, school and fight, school and fight. And the only way you could do that is if you come from money in the first place. So for the guys who don't come from money, which is like, you know, a situation where they would have help anyway when they get out. But when you don't come from that, dude, like you're going to be 40 years old and you have no life skills, or not no life skills, but no like professional skills that you can go out to companies and be like, hey, I need to support my family. I've got $100,000 in the bank, or shit, I've got $50,000 in the bank. I have no idea how I'm going to make money now. Or shit, $300,000 in the bank. That doesn't last you, dude. That's not real money. If you're not making money, you'll rip through that in a few years, for sure. Especially if you have a family. And so it's like these are guys whose lives have been so structured. It's like train, event, train, event, train, event, train, event, train, event. And it's like, and the implications of win or loss in that event lets you just block out every other thing in your life. You don't need to worry about long-term. You need to worry about winning that fight. And then all of a sudden, you know, you kind of wake up and you're like, Jesus, I'm 34. I'm 34 years old. You know? Like when you're 30, you don't really need to worry about it yet. Well, certainly when you're in your 20s, if you're a fighter, you're not really stressing out about it. When you're 30, maybe you start thinking about it a little bit. You hit 33, 34, and you're like, how many years can I do this for? And then that's when the reality hits. It's like, okay, what am I going to do next? And if there's not a coherent answer, a lot of these guys are not wired to do anything else. And I don't mean like they couldn't do it. I just mean they'll fucking hate it. Okay, they'll hate it. And if you've never lived a life where you were doing something that you hated for money and you're doing it for the very first time when you're 40 or whatever, that's a muscle that is not built. You have atrophied that muscle, the muscle that gets built over years of just sucking it up and doing shit you fucking hate so that you can make money. It's the same thing as like someone trying to come in and fight when they're 35 years old and they're, you know, they were, you know, they're athletic guys, but they never trained. And then they come in at 35. They're all right. Teach me to be tough. It's like, dude, that's okay. It's not different from that. And so a lot of guys, you know, and I have no idea if this is what's going on with Cain, but he shot a guy. Like he shot a guy, it seems. I'm just going to speculate. You're not in a great place if you have a family and you pull a gun and shoot someone. Now, I don't know. It's possible that this whole thing was like was like him defending himself. Maybe all this gang shit does play in. Because what I did with the other video, like I said, is I was just like, there has to have been a gang involvement. And maybe that's still the case. And Cain was defending himself. And maybe that's exactly what will come out of this. Hopefully not. Because that would mean that he shot a gang member and the gang member didn't die. Not good. You know? I mean, I have no idea. Again, let me just make this clear. I have no idea if what I'm talking about as it relates to fighters transitioning to their post-fight life applies to Cain specifically. But when I hear stories like this, that's where my mind goes. That's where my mind goes. The majority of professional athletes have a very tough time transitioning to their next life, and especially fighters. You know, especially fighters, it seems, because not a lot of them have enough money to just kind of, all right, well, I'll relax and figure out what I'm going to do. Like NBA guys, you know, the league minimum is what, like 800 grand a year or something like that. So if you're someone who actually gets into their 30s and has been in the league for years and years and years, I mean, almost certainly you're making bare minimum a couple $1 million a year for a while. That's plenty of money to save some money. Fighters is not so much, dude. It's an all or nothing game. That's why I love the sport so much. It's because people put their life on the line to participate. But then they get out and crazy stuff happens. You end up with your car parked on the train tracks. Who would have predicted that Matt Hughes would be a guy you'd need to be worried about after his career? He would have been the last guy I would have thought that about. I'd have been like, dude, he's just going to go to his farm. He's going to, he's going to farm, man, or whatever. He's a cornbread boy. He's just going to go and run his stuff and he'll relax. And then he'll come for Hall of Fame ceremonies. He'll be good. And somehow he ends up with his car on the train tracks, whether he did that on purpose or not. Either way, it's kind of like, So, I mean, Cain certainly, if he ends up going to jail, I don't think anyone's going to fuck with him. That's for goddamn sure. I would imagine he would be he would be the last person anyone's going to fuck with. But that doesn't matter. Prison's the worst thing on earth. It's the worst thing on earth. I think like I don't know, smaller guys or people who people don't like, I don't think really understand what's going to dictate how you do in an environment like that. Just immediately think like, either I'm going to be a victim of violence and predatory behavior, or jail will be fine. Like, as long as I know no one's going to fucking beat the shit out of me or turn me into a girl, like, jail would be fine. It's like, dude, jail ain't fine. There's nothing fine about jail if you've never been to jail. It's hell on earth. I'll tell you what, dude, go lock yourself in your bathroom for a week. Okay? Have someone slide your food under the door for a week. Because, when you just get there, they're going to stick you in isolation while they figure out what to do with you. You're just going to sit in a cell by yourself for like a week to 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And like, to like prisoners, that sounds like nothing. They're like, yeah, I got there. I just had to like kick it in this cell for 3 weeks while they sorted me out, figured me out where to go. It's like, 3 fucking weeks? Like the things that don't even like register to a person who's never been in jail sound like the craziest fucking thing ever. Anyway, this video has sprawled, but hopefully he's okay. Hopefully this turns out that he wasn't, I don't know. I just hope that, hopefully this is self-defense. Hopefully it wasn't a gang member. Hopefully he's cool. I've heard nothing but good things about him. Anyway, don't steal money from fighters. That's all I got. Peace.